Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Awee's webinar, How Can Dental Offices Ensure that Their Investment in Cybersecurity Makes a Difference? And isn't that the most important aspect of this, Pat? We're dealing with an incredibly challenging topic and one that is an existential crisis. So we want to make sure that everybody has the best approach and the best information to move the needle on the pieces of the puzzle that are most important for them.
Absolutely. And I think it's extremely important for everyone, small or large businesses. They should all go through the same process.
Absolutely agree. Now, I think we've got a short video teed up that we'd like to share before we jump into the rest of the content. So why don't we go ahead and do that, Pat?
Absolutely.
If you run a dental clinic, your day doesn't look like a brochure. It looks like this. The phone's ringing off the hook. A hygienist just called in sick, the 10:15 is late, the 10:30 is early, and somebody just showed up with the wrong insurance card. In the middle of that, somewhere, there's a little note that says, "Don't forget cybersecurity awareness training." And let's be honest, that's the one thing that never makes it to the top of the list. We see this everywhere. Clinics care about protecting patient data. Nobody wants to be the one explaining that ransomware locked all the charts for 2 weeks. But between staffing issues, cancellations, and running the business, you don't have an extra hour to sit everyone in a room and click through a boring security module. So the elephant in the room is simple. You're too busy for the kind of cybersecurity awareness training you've been told you should be doing. That's exactly why Awee built Lumi the way we did. With our managed service for clinics, our team handles the technical setup. We take care of the reporting for your insurer or head office, and we send you clear summaries instead of giving you another dashboard to babysit. Your team doesn't get a 1-hour lecture. They get tiny episodes they can watch, read, or play through whenever it works for them, during a break, over lunch, at the end of a shift, or even on the bus or train. Over time, those micro moments build real cyber habits without you having to be the internal IT department. So if you've ever thought, we're just too busy for cybersecurity, you're not wrong. That's the reality. We designed Lumi for. Your job is to take care of patients. Our job is to help you protect them without stealing your time.
That was great, Pat. Thank you so much for teeing that up. Before we jump into the slides and the content, I know some of our attendees will be individuals who've seen some of our other webinars and know who you and I are, but there's probably some new attendees as well. So I want to introduce myself. I'm David Monroe. I'm the CEO of Awee, and I've got about 2 decades worth of accumulated experience in the information and cybersecurity marketplace.
And I'm Patrick. I'm the CTO, or the Chief Technical Officer at Awee, and a co-founder also at Awee. And I've been in cybersecurity for a little over 30 years now. So I think I'm getting old trying to play that game again.
Well, the little bit of gray hair here and there, right, tells everybody about how long we've been in this business, Pat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Before we jump into the rest of the content, I also thought it'd be kind of important to call out a few statistics that really shine a bright light on why we're all here today. And the first one is probably the most critical of all. And there's been multiple studies by many different organizations. This one is by IBM. And it has found that despite the hundreds of millions of dollars spent on traditional training over the last 10, 15 years around cybersecurity awareness, still 90% plus of cyber breaches involve human error. It really is the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain. And the genesis for this webinar series is to turn that weakest link into the first line of defense. The second statistic is equally challenging. It speaks to the fact that people, when they're stressed out and they're challenged with timelines and things that are difficult to accomplish, they may enter into risky behavior, 68% of the time. And that becomes a real concern, especially around cybersecurity breaches and awareness. And the last piece that ties this all together is that despite living in a very safe and accommodating and welcoming country, sadly, we're number 3 on the worldwide ranking for prevalence of ransomware attacks.
Absolutely. And this is kind of challenging because, again, we're talking about small businesses here, and we're talking about these numbers as they would relate to large businesses only, but that's not true. It does relate to everyone, including dental clinics.
Absolutely. Now, in our last webinar, one of the call outs to organizations as they start to embark on this journey of cybersecurity awareness was to try and identify a trusted advisor around cybersecurity that could help inform the choices and the decisions that a dental practice makes. So what we thought might be one of the things that would really be helpful today, Pat, is to kind of call out what are some of the things that dental practice owners should be looking for when trying to vet these trusted advisors.
And that's a great question because, as the name implies, a trusted advisor is somebody who you are going to trust. That's the first thing. But second of all, should know about your business. So what we listed here are 4 points that maybe you should look for into a trusted advisor. The first one is knowing about compliance. If you think about it, there's many laws and regulation in Canada alone, depending on the province, depending at the federal level, but also sometimes at the regional level, that you need to comply to. These laws and regulation are sometimes stipulating something very specific that you need to do, and a trusted advisor should know about that. Ideally, that trusted advisor should also know about the dental practice and some of the tools that you use, for example, Dentrix, Tracker, or whatever else you're using, because that will only help you make the right decision and build a better position for you from a cybersecurity perspective. And lastly, it should help you, or that trusted advisor should help you reduce your risk and not just invoice you for services that you don't really need. The focus should be about knowing your risk and trying to lower these risks as much as possible, or as you think you should handle as much as possible. Understanding your business is key here. And if that trusted advisor does not understand your business, then maybe it's not a trusted advisor.
That makes sense. Now, once you've established this relationship with your trusted advisor and you're starting to try and chart out the cybersecurity path for your practice, maybe we can shed a little light on the top areas of cyber investment that could have the biggest impact on a dental practice.
Yeah, well, and that's a great point too, because other than a trusted advisor, when we think about cybersecurity, sometimes the first thing that we think about is tools. But tools is only one of the area of investment that you should look at. So what we have here is just a quick high-level display of the different things you need to think about. The first one, as we just said, or as just said, is tools. So tools are critical, and you need tools, and we'll explain that in a few slides. But the second one is also internal processes. So those processes that you put in place in order to, manage your supplier, maybe or get payment from your patients, pay your suppliers also. Those possibly need to be revised a little bit in order to make your business a little more secure. And lastly, people. People is the key here, because technically your tools and processes need those people in order to work properly, but the people need to know about cybersecurity or the different threats that can touch your business in order to protect you better.
Now that shares some great insights and perspective around the areas of investment. So now, how should a dental practice owner be thinking about prioritizing these investments?
And that's another point. So let's talk about maybe the tools first. So the priority here should be about tools that do make the most sense for your business, but also do touch you in a very, very specific way. The first one is something that may not make a lot of sense for you initially, but is a requirement for pretty much everyone. So if you think about insurance brokers or your insurers in general, multi-factor authentication is probably the first thing that will come to mind to them. So MFA, or multi-factor authentication, is just the means by which you prove who you are. So if you think about it, Canadian banks use that all the time nowadays to validate your identity before you're allowed to do a transaction at your banking website. So in some cases, what they will do is they will send a code to your cell phone, and you need to input that code into a field on the website in order to prove who you really are. So if I say I'm Patrick, and then what the bank will do is it will send a code to Patrick, and because I have my cell phone with me, then I just need to enter that code to prove who I am, and that's why it's called multi-factor authentication.
So whether you call it multi-factor, or I've heard it called two-factor authentication, it really boils down to something you know, like your password, and something you have, like your phone, where you're going to receive a code that you enter to confirm that you still have that phone with you, to prove that you're also the person who has the password.
Exactly. And when you think about your business, for example, as a dental clinic, you probably have one or multiple email addresses that patients can use in order to reach you. Well, if somebody was able to steal that email account, then they would probably be able to impersonate you and maybe even steal money out of your bank account, or maybe redirect money from the patients. So using MFA, or multi-factor authentication, for your email service is one of the best things you can do in order to protect your business. The other three here, like immutable backup, seems a little bit far-fetched, but an immutable backup is just a backup that cannot be modified even by the bad guys. So times has proved to us that the bad guys come into your network, and the first thing they do is they try to destroy the backup before they start encrypting your data, because by doing that, they know that you won't be able to just retrieve the data from your old backups. So having something called immutable backups, or backups that cannot be modified or deleted, is one way to protect yourself against this type of incident. The last two, patching, is something very simple also, making sure that your applications, any application you use, it can be Office application, it could be your PMS, your special software for your dental clinic, it can be also maybe some other type of software you use, is always up to date, because the bad guys have a good way to find software that is out of date and maybe have one or multiple vulnerabilities in them. And lastly, a modern anti-malware.
Fantastic.
So I know it's a lot of tools, a lot of information, but to go back to the trusted advisors, those are probably the first 4 tools that a trusted advisor would probably tell you to do and to deploy in your environment.
And this starts to provide a bit of a scorecard, if you will, for a dental practice owner when they're starting to vet trusted advisors. Are these the topics they're bringing up? Ask some questions, explore, how much experience and background do they have in these areas? Do they see these as the most important things to be prioritized going forward? So that a dental practice owner who may not have a lot of experience in this area can start to build that scorecard and understand what the answers mean when they're talking to these potential trusted advisors.
Absolutely, that's a great point here. So talking about tools, one thing, but the second option and the second area that we talked about earlier is processes. So if you think about it, you already have different processes in place, but improving them in order to be a little more cyber secure is something very easy to do and fairly simple also in a way. So for example, you get an urgent email from a supplier saying, oh, by the way, we changed our bank account, so from now on, please pay that new bank account. You can just go in your system right now and change that bank account for the new one. But what is the main reason for that? Are you sure that this email is really coming from your supplier? So a very simple process that you can put in place is just calling back that supplier directly. Do not use the phone number in the email itself. use either Google or some specific invoice that you received earlier from that same supplier and call the number there and ask them the question, are you really asking me to change your bank account or your bank information? And you'll find out that probably most of the time that's not true. This is a fraud by the bad guys to try to lure you into sending information to a bank account that does belong to them and not really to your supplier.
They try to create a false sense of urgency, and they try to keep their communication single-threaded. So our best ways of responding to that is to remain calm, slow things down, find a secondary thread to confirm whether this is actually true or not.
And even with your family, this is something you can use. We've all heard of different stories from people from, a family member calling them urgently saying, oh, you know what, I got arrested and I'm going to prison. Can you please send me $500 or something like that? And what I've seen some family do is create a family password. It can be anything you want, like red balloons. So for example, if you think you have a family member on the phone asking you for something like that, you can ask them like, okay, what is the family password? And if they don't know it, that's because it's a scammer on the other end. So please don't pay them and don't forward money to them.
Great insight. Now, I think we have a quick video as well that we want to share to kind of drive this point home.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at it.
Great.
Another beautiful day unfolds at the Mouse family's home. These are ideal conditions for work, especially as Mama Mouse is riding high. Her company, Crackling Cheese, is thriving. Suddenly, her business partner contacts her via email. Mrs. Sarissima is on a business trip across the globe and requests an urgent, large sum transfer to a new supplier's bank account to finalize a deal. Mama Mouse must act swiftly before the banks close, or they'll miss out on this golden opportunity. No, Mama. Hold on a moment. This scam is known as the President's Fraud. It involves impersonating a business partner or the company's boss and requesting sensitive information or funds through email, text, or other means. The hackers create a sense of urgency and primarily target individuals with access to such information. Think before you act, Mama Mouse tells herself. She texts her business partner to verify the authenticity of the request. Mama Mouse did well to check because it turns out that the message was not from her partner. Luckily, she had a narrow escape. Trust no one when it comes to transferring money or sharing sensitive information. Always verify the requester by contacting them directly as soon as possible. Remain cautious, and cyber criminals will have to work hard before seizing you in their clutches.
Now, when we start to talk about the people side of things, there's some real critical concepts and approaches that are most important to engaging individuals in what may be considered quite an esoteric topic and one that maybe they don't show a lot of personal interest in. So maybe walk our audience through that for a few minutes, Pat, to share those perspectives.
Sure. And just as the video you saw earlier, or like a few seconds ago, you saw that the video is very short and up to the point. And that's what is called micro-learning. So by using small videos like that, like a quick episode that can be consumed in less than 2 minutes, for example, you're not asking your users to spend a lot of time watching a boring video or going through a big slide deck that's going to take a long time. So technically, it does fit into busy schedule. And by using micro-learning and keeping it engaging, by using humor and storytelling and making it interactive, you're also making sure that the user is going to retrieve some information out of it and will learn something. If it's more specific, for example, dental specific, and it can measure behavior, that's even better, because at that point, you're not only just training the users, but you're also making sure that they understand the concept of the training, if you want, within the organization itself, but it also helps them improve their behavior over time by measuring it and maybe comparing themselves with maybe other users internally. And all of this comes from the human behavioral psychology guidance from University Laval, with whom we worked with for a few years.
Oh, those are really valuable insights. And as contacts and our friends in the dental community travel to our website and maybe want to consume more information, they'll find a great deal of very dental specific, a 5-step guide to making your dental practice more cyber resilient, or a suite of blog posts all targeted on very specific realities found in dental practices and how to become more cyber resilient.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key of the game too, making sure that it is related to you. And again, it goes back to the trusted advisor, knowing your business and understanding how you feel about all that, and what you need to know and what you should know.
Yeah, and the last one there, I just had to share a quick comment, Pat. The measuring behavior, the concept of a cyber score, like a credit score, it's something that insurers are now looking for, more of a detailed perspective, not just a check of a box that you've done training, but what's the real impact of that training? How is it translated into the knowledge that's been built up by the employees?
Absolutely. And talking about insurance, this is pretty much our last slide on the subject for cybersecurity. From a cybersecurity perspective, is what should you do? So we talked about tools, processes, and people, but technically your safety net is your insurance policy. So as you know, and as we talked about in previous webinars, having a good cybersecurity policy is key nowadays, because that specific policy is going to protect you against specific cyber attack and make sure that you can recover from those cyber attacks. And those cyber attacks can include things like social engineering, so using your users to get into the system, or compromise email, so your compromised email account, what we call in our business like business email compromise, or even ransomware. Most of these specific policies do cover things like that, and it is not something that you would be covered on a regular policy. Those policies also include sometimes a breach response team. So that means that if something bad happens, then your insurer will be able to send someone to help you and help you recover your data as quickly as possible and go back business as usual. So all of this is key also. So preventing is something extremely important, but also being protected in case of an incident is extremely important too.
No different than learning how to drive defensively, but still having car insurance, because accidents happen and breaches happen. And at the end of the day, if they do happen, you want to be able to get back on your feet as quickly and as financially securely as you possibly can.
Absolutely. And, as you said, accident happen, fraud does happen. And we've heard of a lot of different horror stories in the dental practices around Canada in the past year, where there was a lot of fraud too. So you want to be protected there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So technically, if we summarize what we just saw, if you want to make the elephant disappear, it's very simple. Build and audit your foundation. So find your trusted advisor and put those 4 main controls in place. The 5th essential control is just as it is said here in number 2, fix the human element. So again, we can help you do that. This is one of our specialty, and we're pretty good at that. But you want to build more than just an annual check the box operation. You want to make sure that your users will know about your different threats, but also how to protect your business in general. And lastly, verify your safety net. Very critical. Make sure you are covered from an insurance perspective.
We just had a question come through, Pat. And the question was, do we offer trusted advisor services?
And that's a great question. And technically, we can be a trusted advisor if you want us to, sorry. But we can also recommend somebody in your region, depending on where you are in Canada, because we do have a lot of relationship with different MSPs or managed service providers or companies in IT or trusted advisors pretty much all around the country. So if you need some help there, we can certainly help you. So if you want to reach us, you can certainly do so here. The email to send, you can send us an email at info@awee.tech. So either me or David or somebody else in the team will be able to answer it. You can also come to our website, so www.awee.tech, and we do have a special for packages. You can get 20% off right now if you go to the website and you want to grab one of these packages. The code to use is December, or DEC 2025. So just make sure you use that code at checkout, and you will be able to, again, make that elephant disappear.
Well, Pat, it's been a pleasure, as always, doing these webinars with you. And for our audience, stay tuned. There will be a new webinar coming up in 2026. And we want to wish you and your families the very best of the holiday season. Stay safe, and we'll see you in January.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.